This is how I pack my cereal when I travel. Very important. I'm like one of those like 70-year-old ladies like going into the movies and like sneaking snacks in. Have you ever seen cinematic travel videos with shots like these? And you think, how on earth did they get those shots? Today, I'm going to talk about what gear is in my travel camera bag, my travel must-haves, and how I fit most of this gear into one camera bag. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for being here. I recently got hired to film and photograph a women's retreat in Tulum, Mexico. Thank heavens, because I am in Minnesota. We have been in the single digits for probably the past 2 or 3 weeks, and I cannot wait to get the F out of here. I figured that this was a perfect time to show you my camera bag, what's in my camera bag, what gear I pack, why I pack it, what I use it for. I'll talk about the gear that always stays with me. I'll talk about some of the gear that I don't mind checking, and just all things camera gear and travel. So let's get into it. When I get hired for a shoot that is not in Minnesota, that I have to travel for, there are a couple of questions that obviously me and the client talk about, but I also ask myself these questions when it comes to packing before the trip. One of the biggest things is, what am I gonna be shooting? Are they hiring me for photography, video? I would say 60% of the time, they're typically hiring me for both, especially if I'm traveling somewhere. But if I were to be hired just for photo, do I need flash? Do I need triggers? If it were to just be for video, do I need microphones? Do I need lights? Do I need tripods? Where am I shooting? Is it cold? Is it warm? Are we gonna be in the snow? Are we gonna be in the sand? All of these things are questions that I ask myself before I start packing my gear. So for this particular trip, I am going to be in Tulum, Mexico. So obviously a warmer climate. And she hired me to do both photo and video. I'll also get into like the travel portion of it, actually traveling with the gear. What gear do I always keep with me in my camera bag that goes in my back? What gear do I not mind putting in my checked bag? Going through security, weight limits, I'll touch on all of that. Okay, I'm gonna warn you, full transparency, I probably don't travel with my gear in the most professional ways. It might not be the most professional way to get from one destination to the next, but I have figured out over the years that this is just what works for me, and that is honestly the most important thing. Okay, first and foremost, the bag. I'll say this right now, I have bought more of my fair share of camera bags over the years, and I really do always come back to this one. This is the Low Pro BP 450 AW2, whatever that means. It is my go-to, it's Old Faithful. I, again, have had so many bags over the years, and this just seems to work. The weight, the room that it has. I use a Canon R3, which has a little bit of a taller body, so that body fits in here no problem. I really cannot say enough good things about this bag. I'll show you the inside of it. I put everything in here the exact same way every single time. That way you kind of get a sense of, is something missing? Am I forgetting something? I have honestly had it in this construction form for years, and it works for me. I will not keep this here. I'm gonna put this down, but I will show you a little later how I actually pack it and what all goes in here. So I typically bring 2 camera bodies. I will sometimes appoint one to specifically using that one for video and appoint one to specifically using that for photo. It doesn't always work out like that. Sometimes if you're in a run and gun situation, but this is the Canon EOS R3 mirrorless, and the other one is the one that I'm filming on right now, which is the R5. The lenses, this is the 70-200 f2.8 And my go-to is the one that I am also using on this camera, and that is the 24-70 2.8. Here's one thing that I personally love about zoom lenses when it comes to video. It allows you to get different focal lengths without having to change your position, without having to physically move your body. You are able to get those different focal lengths, and I think that that is why I primarily have zoom lenses. We are going to be on beautiful beaches, so obviously I will be bringing my drone. I have the Mavic 3 Pro, which has the 3 different lenses and focal lengths, which I also love. I also have 2 other cameras that I'll be bringing. My GoPro Hero 9, which I may or may not be updating that to the latest version before I go, I'm not really sure. I will also be bringing my Osmo Pocket 3, which is right above here at the moment, getting this overhead shot for us. I probably will be doing a couple of interviews or testimonials over the course of the week. So I will be bringing a couple of microphones, my batteries and chargers for all of these things. There are 2 tripods that I usually travel with. I can't show you the one because I'm filming on it, but it is the Peak Design. It is a little on the spendier side, but I love how compact it is, and a lot of the times I will just wrap that up in a sweatshirt or a jean jacket of some sorts, and I will just put that in my checked bag. There are certain things, like I mentioned before, that I do not allow to be checked. I make sure that that equipment is with me. My lenses, the camera bodies, memory cards, chargers, all of those things that are just a non-negotiable, they cannot get lost. Those will always stay with me. But the one is the Peak Design tripod that I'm using, and then the other is the tripod that I typically use. I will either put my phone in here, and I do really like this one because this guy, the top of it can come off, and then I can actually just screw my Osmo Pocket 3 in here. So I love this thing. It's super lightweight, it's versatile. Either my phone or the Osmo, it's good for getting behind the scenes shots or anything like that. So those are the 2 tripods that I always bring with. For microphones, I will bring my little Rode ones that I am currently using right now. And then I have 2 lavalier mics that I'll use in case I'm interviewing multiple people or whatever the case may be. I am also bringing my computer charger, memory cards, hard drives, plenty of hard drives. You know, I shoot everything in 4K, so those things can fill up pretty quickly. And then when it comes to editing while I'm on these work trips, I always bring 2 sets of headphones. I bring my AirPods more so for walking through the airport or taking a phone call or something like that. But if I'm editing on the plane, or even if I'm editing at wherever the location is, I love to have my over-the-ear headphones. It helps lessen the distractions, let's just say that. I will also be bringing my gimbal. This is my Old Faithful DJI Ronin S. It's like the OG. I typically always tend to bring my gimbal. There is sometimes that I don't use it, which can be a little irritating because it does take up quite a bit of room in my bag. A lot of the times what I'll do is I will put this portion in my camera bag, just because, again, these things do have some weight to it, and weight with all of the gear, just plus all of my personal items that I have, the suitcase does tend to get heavy. Typically what I'll do is this will go in my camera bag, and then I will lay this in some of the packing cubes that I usually put some clothes in, and it usually keeps it pretty nice and secure, and I'm not worried about it moving around. I'm not worried about it getting damaged. So that is typically how I transport my gimbal from A to B. Speaking of suitcases, my favorite and #1 suitcase brand that I have used for years is Away. Away, if you want to sponsor this video, feel free to. But I have really, really loved the Away brand. Their customer service, anytime there is anything wrong, I've had wheels that have gotten damaged, They'll send you new replacement ones, like no extra charge. Their suitcases also come with little locks on the top of it. So if you do have expensive gear that is in your suitcase, you can just go ahead and lock it and feel good about it. Bags are packed. We're ready to rock and roll. One crucial piece that I cannot stress this enough is a gear checklist. I have a horror story that I sometimes still have nightmares about. A few years ago, I went and did some mission work with a group in Tanzania. I had gotten a new camera bag probably a few days before I had left. Because I wasn't super familiar with the camera bag and where I was gonna put everything, we get to Tanzania. I am beyond excited to film and capture this trip. I get there and realize that I do not have my 1DX charger. If you're not sure what the 1DX batteries look like, they are like this. Canon, we gotta figure this out here. There we go. So it's a very distinct battery, and this is the charger for it, and then there's a little plug-in that goes to the side to it. No one in Tanzania had a charger for my 1DX. So I just did what I could, and I saved the battery as much as I could, but I was beyond disappointed with myself that I had forgotten that. I did not go through my gear checklist, which is why I forgot my charger. So I cannot stress that enough. Before you're going on a trip, you have 1,000 things running through your head. A simple gear checklist give you a little peace of mind before you go on the trip. This is probably one of my favorite tiniest little tools that I have purchased over the years, and it has saved me a lot of headaches. This is simply a scale for your suitcase. It's a little awkward because you put this around the top strap on it and then you have to lift it up. If you're lifting a 50-pound suitcase, it can be a little heavy, but this thing will tell you exactly the weight that you're at so that you are not going to the airport and you get there and your bag is 5 pounds over. So then you're sitting there rearranging things and it just becomes a headache. So I will link this also below. I'm pretty sure I got this off Amazon for 10 bucks, I wanna say. It is just the handiest thing. I pack this thing the exact same way every single time. And then that way, even after checking my gear checklist, it just affirms that I have everything. I haven't forgotten charger. I've got memory cards. I kind of double check everything before I leave. So I will show you how I pack this sucker. The R3 has some weight and some depth to it. So this thing with the 70 to 200 always goes right there. My charger for the R3 goes right here. I didn't show you guys these, but these are my lavalier microphones. So these always go back here. There's 2 of them. This is my little think tank bag. I like it because it does have the clear side on there, so you can kind of see what's in there. But this just has my extra batteries. This is my CFast card reader so that I can all of the footage from my cards and bring it onto my hard drives. So that always sits right on top of my charger like so. And then normally, again, obviously I'm filming with my R5, but the R5 and the 70 to 200 would go right here. I got the creator pack for the Pocket 3. So the Pocket 3 just sits perfectly right there. These are other little pouches that I bring from my friend who owns a wonderful company, Urban Undercover. Check them out if you have never heard of them. But I will keep little things in here like extra batteries, a camera strap. So I'll just have little things like that go in here. Usually my headphones will go right there. And then I'll have maybe a water bottle or something else that fits in there. If I flip this around, this does get kind of tight because my laptop goes in here. But you know, this is another card reader, extra memory cards, holders, and all of that kind of stuff up here. That is what's in my camera bag. So let's talk about getting your camera gear through security. I have TSA PreCheck, best money I've ever spent. If I could be a spokesperson for TSA PreCheck, I totally would. When I go through security, I don't have to take my shoes off. I don't have to take my computer out. 9 times out of 10, especially if I am traveling within the US, I do not have an issue. Sometimes it'll, be going down the little thing and it'll switch down to the lane that they're gonna like check it. If I am outside of the US, let's say I'm in Mexico or somewhere in Europe, or I remember when I went to Banff and I was coming back into the US, I do remember that they stopped me and looked through my bag. They made me take some of my gear out and all of that. But I would always just say, make sure to give yourself enough time to go through security. And that is what is in my travel camera bag 2025. If you're at all interested in hearing about how I got hired for this job in Tulum, or how I have gotten hired by other brands in the past that have required travel, and take a deep dive into how I negotiate with those brands, what I usually charge, I'd be more than happy to make a future video about that. So let me know in the comments if that is something that you are interested in. As always, thank you for being here. Like, subscribe, do all of the things, and I will see you in the next video.